Jeffrey Sachs, thanks very much for your time today. Let's begin with what's been happening in Beijing. The Party Congress hogged the global headlines for a couple of days. But what happens next? How are the party's priorities for the next 5 years, as outlined during the recent gathering, is going to impact the economy, but also its role as a global tech leader, but also more broadly, its role as a foreign policy participant?
This was a very big event, and there was a very long lead up to it. So I think the government will now get to work, and there's a lot to do now. There's a lot of internal transformation, for example, for the ecological transition and the energy transition. There's a lot of technological change, and it's a very complicated geopolitical environment. So a lot will depend on how China and the United States interact now, I hope cooperatively, and that's what I'm really urging in my own country, that the United States change its approach. I think there's a great deal of benefit from a much more cooperative approach between the United States and China to solve a lot of the problems that we're facing. But a lot will depend on the geopolitical dynamics going forward.
As time wears on, it's becoming very clear that China intends to chart and see through its own path rather than follow the examples set before by Western leaders. How do you think it's going to measure its success come 2023 and onwards?
Well, I think that there's something even a little more basic than that. Of course, China, given its unique conditions, will chart its own course. But there is a sense in China, and I have to say I share that sense, that the United States is actively trying to impede China's progress right now. And of course, the word used in the US by some is containment, which is the old term for the playbook of the US Cold War vis-a-vis the Soviet Union. I can't imagine anything more wrong-headed than this, but that actually is the view. So what China's mapping out is not only its own distinctive course, which has been true basically for decades, and all of the economic strategy from 1980 onward has been distinctive institutionally, part of the world economy, part market, part state, and so forth, Chinese characteristics as the expression goes. But I think the sense now is it's more complicated geopolitically because it's a hostile geopolitical environment. I really hope, and I believe it's possible that we move beyond that. But that is the current sense, and it is the current challenge. And I think the message from the 20th Party Congress and from President Xi was, look, if that's the view, we carry on. We will find our way. If we're stopped from participating in US linked technologies here and there, we'll find our way. So it's much more navigating not only with our own characteristics, but navigating an environment that is more hostile to our continued progress. But not to worry, our intention is to continue forward, and a lot of the world is very cooperatively linked to China in trade and finance and projects and diplomacy.